Metcalf, a big one, 30-30. It's coming to an end. We've got 2 left, but this one's a fun one, so we should also be happy, folks. Duke, Blue Devils, freshman, big man, Cameron Boozer. All right, everyone set the tone? Good. Metcalf, this one's special. We just did an episode on AJ Devine, so go check that out. We've got a No Ceilings. Our whole team put out a preseason draft guide at noceilingsnba.com. Go check that out. And 30-30, a lot of videos. Go check that out. So let's talk about Cam Boozer. What is there not to love about Cam Boozer? He's listed at 6'9", 250 per Duke's website. A fun reminder for everyone that thinks they know. He's also not going to turn 19 until he's at Summer League, so he's going to play this whole year, 18 years old. This kid's the Terminator. He's awesome, Metcalf. He's won at every level. If you want to have an impressive resume as a prospect, Cam Boozer has it up there. McDonald's All-American, Nike Hoop Summit. He's won 2 gold medals with Team USA. He's won 2 Florida Mr. Basketballs. McDonald's All-American MVP, Gatorade Player National of the Year. I think he won his first one when he was 15. Pretty good. And then 2-time Mr. Basketball USA. Cam Boozer wins, Metcalf.
That's all he does.
Wins. That's all he does. Shout out DJ Khaled. So talk to the folks about what you love about Cam Boozer, besides the fact that I just probably gave you no talking points after that.
Yeah, no, he's good. All right. Good video.
Good. All right, awesome. This was the shortest one.
But I mean, it honestly could be, because it's just that simple with him. Like, we'll nitpick some stuff later, but he's just good. And he's arguably one of, if not the most decorated high school basketball players, male high school basketball players of all time. If there's an award, he won it. If there's a competition, he won it. If there's a medal or a trophy or a pickup game, he won it. And he did it while putting up bonkers numbers all across the board. And he's the master of the little things. He's the modern version of Tim Duncan. He's, the modern version of another big in the similar time era who we're not going to mention because
don't say his name,
because you'll figure it out. But he's dynamic, he's versatile, but he's also a genius on the court with just doing the little things, playing simple, and he makes the difficult look simple. And that's a huge, huge skill in and of itself.
If you're getting familiar, his dad was Carlos Boozer, played in NBA for a very, very long time, and you see immediately the similarities with their games. But Cam just seems more of a little bit better athlete, a little bit better, game this young. Carlos, when he was in his prime, was a monster on the boards. You see that with Cam too. He's got a fraternal twin. We should mention Caden, he's at Duke this year. He's going to be a prospect that's going to be exciting this class. But Cam Boozer, let's get people pumped up because they love stats. At Columbus High School, 22 points per game. This is percentage. 22 points per game, 10.9 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.5 blocks, 1.4 steals, splits of 54.9, 40% from 3 on 4.4 attempts, and 79.6 from the free throw line. That's in 26 games. But you go everywhere and the numbers get crazy. You see some of the box scores he puts up and you're like, my goodness. He just had an exhibition game against Tennessee, had 24 and 23? Not bad.
Like that.
I think 6 assists too. I joke and say he's the Terminator. He just continues to come after you. He is literally never stopping. He just is a beast around the basket. You said Tim Duncan, which I think people are going to freak out, but it's like you watch the game and you're like, well, he doesn't ever get too high or too low. He just stays even emotionless almost in a weird way. Yeah, yes, there's passion and stuff, but he's a technician. He's a robot. He just continues to work on his craft. So let's start offensively. Hit me with it. What do you like about the game? Because we're going to talk weaknesses too. Like there's always something with, every prospect. No prospect's perfect. So what do you like about the offense? Let's start positive.
The day one physicality he just bullies defenders, and you'll see guys try and bump him off his spots. And obviously he was one of the biggest guys in high school on the court, but he's also, in these scrimmages, he's done the same thing. And it's like, is this physicality really going to translate? And yeah, it does. And you can't move him, whether it's a straight line drive, whether it's a post up, whether it's an offensive rebound. You just can't move him. And if he wants to get from point A to point B, he's going to do it. Now, I'll have some nitpicks with that too, but it's just the day one being able to play, I think, in the league, physically being able to handle it is so rare, and it's such a boon to rookies who can do it. Every year, we see guys who struggle to get minutes just because they physically aren't there yet. They may be super skilled, they may be super smart, they may be an awesome shooter, but they're just not strong enough yet. Not an issue with Boozer. And he's not the most explosive athlete, but his balance, his footwork, his strength are all elite. And they should constantly pop up on both ends of the floor. But then not sticking with offense, then you also just factor in his IQ and how he just constantly makes the right decision. It's wild. You never watch him and just go, what was that? Which is shocking for an 18-year-old. I did so much dumb stuff as an 18-year-old. There's so many 18-year-olds that we watch in these games where like, what are you doing? Even if they followed up with brilliance. I never, ever have that with Cam.
I agree. I mean, I'm laughing because it is true. Like, you know, we always joke with like having these big expectations on these kids. And it's like, well, now they're getting millions of dollars. And I once talked to a coach at the NBA and he's like, yeah, he was a rookie. He struggled a little bit. Well, he's like, he also was 19 and we gave him millions and millions of dollars. What would you have done if you were? I was like, yeah, I probably would have been a punk. So it's just funny when you always spin it that way. But Boozer he's remarkable because we always say like we all scout individually. We don't just buy into the hype, and we always want to make our, especially myself, I feel like, and I know you do too, but like we were like, hey, let me make my own evaluation. I feel pretty good about, you know, what I see. So when everyone was talking about how great he was, I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Then I turn on the tape and I'm like, this kid is just a monster. He's a beast. And you never worry about if Cam Boozer's bringing it every possession. You never worry about, you know, he does so many. I love, you've said that since the summer. You said he's the master of the little things, and it's spot on. He does so many things that don't pop up in the box score, and then he does pop up in the box score of just filling it up. You look up and you're like, he has how many rebounds? He has how many points? Like, it's just a quiet assassin on the court where he just keeps coming after you. So what I want to talk about some questions on the offensive side of the ball too. So let's get into that. I'm all over the place. I'm having a great time. So Metcalf, what do you want to see offensively improve?
I want a little more wiggle. He just feels stiff. I like he's a really powerful athlete, great balance, all that kind of stuff. But he also just feels really stiff and robotic on that end of the floor too. So I do kind of struggle with like, all right, I love the play finishing versatility. I buy the spot up jumper, like pick and pop stuff, his ability to straight line drive. If he's on the perimeter and defenders like play aggressive gap coverage and then have to close out to him, he's going to beat them 99 times out of 100. Because once he gets you on his hip, you're not getting back rimside. So, but if he needs to go out and kind of create his own shot, can he do it in ways that aren't just A to B? You know, straight line stuff. Does he have counter moves? Like the handle's fine. It's not overly dynamic, but like the lateral stuff, he just feels really stiff and robotic out there when he's trying to create. Long term, I think it's not a red flag or anything like that, but it's a nitpick, and that's what we're doing right now. So it's like, all right, what is the limit? How much is that going to limit his on-ball offensive shot creation down the road? Because in college, it's going to be fine. He's going to be able to overpower guys all the time. In the pros, he'll probably still be able to do that with a lot of guys as well. But if we're talking about him as a number one offensive option, then the handle's going to have to get a little more dynamic. The hip fluidity is going to have to get a little more dynamic. There's going to have to be some sort of counter move in there eventually for him to hit that threshold. It may not come. He may be, in terms of an offensive option or scoring option, he may be a number two, and that's more than okay because he's an awesome rim runner, play finisher, inside, outside, awesome, terrific passer. I mean, the passing with him, especially at his position, is tremendous. It's just the on-ball creation is just always leaves me wanting a little more because of how stiff it can be.
Yeah, and you know what I was trying to get at earlier, I just remember, but it's Cam's so intriguing to me as a prospect because I think there's a really high floor. And at the same time, there's also very high upside. But moving forward, I'm in the same boat as you. It's like I want to see how high can that upside get.
Right.
I think he reminds me a lot of Kevin Love coming out of UCLA. He reminds me a lot of Al Horford.
Yep.
Those are, and people might be like, well, is that upside number one pick worthy? And I'm like, well, hold on a second. See it from this point. Those guys combined to almost play 30 plus years in the NBA. So like the athleticism is I agree when people like kind of question it, but then you watch a game and all of a sudden he like, his first exhibition, he throws down a monster. I think it was UCF. He throws first play of the game. He just throws down a monster poster on someone. And you're like, all right, there's different types of athleticism because I think when he has some momentum and he has so much power, he could just get anywhere he wants. It's the lateral athleticism. It's how quickly he can get, in and out of stuff. But I think the big part of his game and what you're hinting at, I believe, is kind of like, can he create a little bit of an offensive, advanced counters and if he does that, oh gosh, you've got a franchise big. It's just like, oh my gosh, you're really, really cooking with something. I think a Spurs fan on the internet was like, how do we get Wembanyama and Boozer together? And I said the league would go on strike. That's how you get them together. So it's not, every time I watch him, I try to find something that and I've just come away like, he's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
He's going to be great. Yeah. He's not going to be a highlight machine because people are going to watch, a lot of these guys and get excited. Boozers, you turn on the film and oh my gosh, you just fall in love with how effortless it is for him to make an impact in so many different ways. So, okay, let's talk about defense real quick.
Yep.
Because I do have questions and I know Dr. Defense is going to have some questions. So talk to me big picture and go wherever you want with it. If you want to say, hey, we need to see some areas from this, we can go all over the place.
Yeah, and he's just incredibly sound, incredibly reliable. He's never out of position. He's always where he needs to be when he needs to be there. And for the most part, he has the strength to battle in the post, to defend whoever he needs to down there, and then the speed and agility and footwork to switch on the perimeter. Now, if I'm nitpicking, which of course I am, because it's October, why wouldn't I? It's my show. I get to do what I want. Some of the lateral stuff, we are seeing him struggle a little bit with the quicker guards, and I'm not too worried about it because he's big enough and he's strong enough where I think in time he'll get a little more comfortable with using his strength to bump those guys out a little wider, not foul them or, shove them or anything, but just get a little more contact, force their drive to go a little wider. That'll give him even more space to just open up his hips and slide and recover. The fundamentals rock. And then my other kind of bigger question is, can he be your primary rim protector? And defensively, basically in layman's terms, can he be your defensive center? And that I'm more skeptical with because from a fundamental positioning standpoint, he's fine, but he's 6'9", not the most explosive guy. And his defensive playmaking numbers have never been great. Like he's fine protecting the rim because he's always where he needs to be, but the block and rim protection stuff, it's always left me wanting a little more. And I'm not sure if at an NBA level, he can do that as his primary defensive responsibility.
Yeah, he's your classic. You could probably get away with small ball in the game, be completely fine.
Situational stuff, all 100%.
You'd have a big advantage. If you have a bruiser next to him, that could really be a rim protector, and you don't have to do much for that guy, that big offensively. That makes Cam even more dangerous. Yeah. So people are going to be like, well, is he going to have to be a full-time four? And it's like, well, depends. I think he gives you just so much versatility as a rotation guy. Like OKC with Chet Holmgren, it's like, well, he could play 5, but then you kind of have lineup rotations where you could put him at the 4, and then you have jumbo size and his floor spacing. Cam it's not going to be an eye-opening shot blocker ever. I think he's really smart at understanding that. Yeah. He's never going to be a guy that's just like, oh, I'm weak side sending it like KG into the 5th row. He's more of like, I'm going to get over and just put my hands up. Now he could be that way. He could develop into that of being like a timely blocker of like, you're going up for a shot. I know how to time it when you're going up and stuff like that. He could, maybe that's the next part of his game is like beating you with his mind that way. But I think you're onto something. It's going to be something probably people will fascinate and
Mm-hmm.
obsess about this year is like, well, he can't be a full-time 5. And it's like, okay, if you're putting up 24 and 23, we might be okay with you at the 5 position sometimes.
And he also does a lot of his work before the ball can even get to the rim. So like
Right.
he's more of a rim deterrent than like a rim protector, I guess.
Yeah, right.
If that makes sense, because
Which is still positive.
Like his weak side rotations come where he's meeting the guy well outside the restricted area, and that's where all of the cerebral stuff in his game comes into play. But doing that against NBA, I guess it's just harder. So it's just something I'm constantly going to be curious about.
And that's the lateral quickness. I've started to see that too, where I think he's going to figure it out. I wonder if it's a timing thing where it's just, we used to talk about, and it just because he's fresh on my mind, we used to talk about when Wembanyama, when he's a prospect with Metropolitan 92, and you pointed out once back then on the whatever podcast we did so long ago, but you were like, he looks like a guy just hasn't figured out how big he is yet. Yeah. Like he was over anxious, over trying to play defense where you're like, you could probably be a foot back because of how big you are. With Cam, it seems like he's trying to get right up in guys and be just competitive, but it's like, you're not moving that fast. These guys are quicker now. So like, make it realistic and give yourself a little bit of room to have some success. I think he'll figure that out. I think that's also part of like, get to the NBA level and some vets be like, hey, let me teach you this. Let me help you out, with this. And we see guys like Al Horford who figure it out where you're like, gosh, he's still a high level defender at 35 plus years old. So I think he'll figure it out, but he's definitely, those are the areas I agree with you. I think people are going to fascinate with those two aspects to be like, is it enough to weigh him down, or are we just obsessing over nitpicking an unbelievable prospect? So any last thoughts before we shut this one down?
Don't overthink him.
Yeah, there you go.
Like
poetic timing.
The highlights aren't going to be overwhelming. There's going to be a lot of really good stuff. The numbers are going to be impressive. They're going to win a lot, and he's going to be a driving reason. He always has been. He always will be. Don't overthink him.
Whatever fan base watches this and you're rooting for your team to get him, it's going to be one of those drafts. If you guys draft him, you're going to just like have the best possible sleep you've ever had after a draft night. And he's just going to be a culture shifter. Cause I think it's just going to be like the big man's no nonsense. He's just going to stay straight, and it's going to be a really fun one to watch this year at Duke. What a shocker. Duke gets another good prospect. Unbelievable. How do they get away with this? Anyways, thank you guys. 30 and 30. This was a fun one with Cam Boozer. Like I said, we've done a lot. We've done a lot of prospects. You guys have been here. You guys have been supporting. We really appreciate it. Check out the No Ceilings NBA YouTube channel. We are going to have one more, folks, and you probably could guess who that's going to be. It's going to be Mr. Darren Peterson. So make sure you guys are checking that out tomorrow. Very talented prospect, just like a lot of these guys. But also check out the No Ceilings NBA.com Substack. We have a draft guide, preseason draft guide, 60 prospects, in-depth analysis, all that fun stuff. So we'll see you guys tomorrow for the last 30 and 30. Take care.